they deserve $1 million. Then on top of that, it's the fact that they think that they should get $1 million and only work 10 hours a week. So that's another challenge. In addition to that, it's also food costs. Food has gone up throughout the years. And then to match that with the fact that my mortgage went up and doubled, that's also a challenge. So it's just overhead costs in general that are huge challenges in this industry for me anyway. And through that, it goes to the consumer. So now the fillets I serve have to be about $57, $60, and that doesn't mean I'm making much. It just is at least covering, labor and overhead. So those are those are some of the challenges that I face.
Thank you so much for that. Jenny?
So good morning, everyone. I'm Jeannie Calalillo. My husband owns the ShopRite of Yardley. I'm Director of Community Relations at ShopRite of Hunterdon County, which is our company. So I say that supermarkets are the problem, but we are also the best solution. We're your best chance at, a full selection of fresh produce, fish, meats, plant-based foods. Our stores have in-store registered dietitians full-time. And we're pretty excited to hear about what you're doing. We do try to encourage our customers to eat well. That is our purpose. Eat well and be happy. So
thank you. Thank you for sharing. Mark? Hope you're on mute, Mark.
Did that. There you go. How's that?
Perfect.
All right, wonderful. Good morning. My name is Mark Frank. My wife and I own the Inn at Barley Sheep Farm. For those of you who may not be familiar with it, we're located basically between Doylestown and New Hope. We have a full-service restaurant as well as a event and wedding venue and bed and breakfast here on site. We've been here about 10 years now. I'll echo my colleagues' assessment of food costs and labor costs. The other one I would actually add, and sort of as an offshoot to when he says, "Hey, we have to pass those costs along to our consumers," is that candidly, social media has got both to be a incredible blessing, but also an incredible curse. That it appears to be an area where, instead of people just bringing up, "Hey, I've had this concern or issue," that it becomes almost like wildfire on the internet. Now, knock on wood, we have not been the victim of that a lot, but I've seen some local facilities really get beaten up pretty badly over some issues. So those are the three things that I think that we face.
Thank you for that. I'm going to 061121.
Hello, my name is Bill Platt. I'm the store manager at the Wegmans in Yardley. You guys can hear me, correct?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I'm the store manager at Yardley. I've been with Wegmans for 24 years, and I know our nutritionist, Marta, is on the call as well. But I think one of the main things that our mission at Wegmans is to help our customers live healthier, better lives through food. And I think the challenge that we have is we see our shoppers in the store for a limited amount of time. And we want to teach, our goal was always at Wegmans to teach our customers how to live healthier, better lives through food. And I think that engaging the customer and keeping their attention for a certain amount of time so that we can teach them about that is some of the challenges that we have. We have a lot of offerings within our store that meet the criteria for healthy, living a healthy lifestyle. And I think just teaching the customers and getting their attention for a certain amount of time about these products is one of our challenges.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Bill. Meredith?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Meredith McGrath, and I'm the registered dietitian for Redner's Markets. We have 44 stores in 3 states, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Delaware, and a handful of them are in Bucks County. So I've been with the company for 16 years, and I feel since day one, I've been talking and preaching about healthful foods on a budget, and it just hasn't gone away. So some of the challenges that I believe we face are obviously some habitual issues of, you know, just educating folks and trying to get them to try new things, break old habits. Food cost is obviously super important to us and to our guests. And, you know, just trying to get all that information across, trying to get people motivated to make some changes, even if they're small changes. But so I'm the one and only person here for our chain, and just, you know, a lot of mass communication, trying to get the message out there, trying to create programs. Any kind of community initiatives like that you are running right here is very important to us, and we love to be part of. So yeah, always looking at, I love how, I think it was Jeannie who said, grocery stores are the problem, but also can be a huge solution to the problem. And I think that is very true, because unfortunately there are still lots of people who are always going to buy the soda and the potato chips, but getting them to hopefully get some of the more fresh foods and foods that are going to provide those healthful nutrients are important. So excited to be here.
Great. Thank you, Meredith. Marta.
Hi, I'm Marta Human, registered dietitian also. Hi, Meredith. I haven't seen you in forever. Yeah, like Bill and Meredith both said, we have a great products in our stores, and we also have wonderful information on our website that my dietitian team has worked tremendously on. Great information. It's getting the people to go look at that information that's the obstacle. And, you know, like Meredith said, people tend to know what to eat. It's getting them to do it is the issue, and coming up with ways to help them make those decisions on the regular basis is, I think, probably the biggest challenge.
Thank you for that. Host, is there anyone there behind the host screen? Or is that just you, Seth?
Yeah, it's actually from the senator's office there, but Shannon, I think.
Yes, host is one of our staff who's just
Okay,
running
got it.
Zoom.
Okay, thanks. Deidre?
Good morning. So I'm Deirdre Sabelli. I'm the owner of Moco Bowls in Peddlers Village. It's the Hawaiian poke fast casual restaurant. So I kind of will, you know, say the same thing as the other restaurant owners as far as cost and labor concerns. But one additional thing I'd probably add to our challenges is customer perception. So our whole concept at Moco is fresh, healthy eating. We serve raw whole foods. Everything's cooked fresh right in the store, but we're a fast casual restaurant, more or less like, you know, you come in, pick it up, go. It's not a sit down, wait service restaurant. And, you know, with the rising food costs, we serve like sushi grade fishes and a lot of raw whole produce, which is quite expensive. But we're generous with our portion sizes. So our costs have to obviously offset the portion sizes. So it gets a little like, I think it gets customers come in with a certain perception of what the value of the item is. And a lot of times I have people just turn around, walk out of the store because they just feel like it's not part of their price point. But they don't really realize how much more food they're getting than, say, a traditional sushi roll, sort of. It's like 5 times the amount of raw fish that they would get, but they are not aware of that. So that definitely is a challenge. But I will say that I think once customers come in and if they are adventurous and they try it, I will say we've been lucky where they do come back, because then once they try it and they taste it, they really understand the value of it. And then we get a lot of repeat customers or loyal customers coming in.
That's great. Thank you. Kevin? If you're available. Caleb?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
Hi, I'm Caleb from Caleb's American Kitchen in just outside of Peddlers Village. I could repeat what everybody said. I'll put a little more of a positive spin. I feel like food cost is certainly come down and a little more controlled. Obviously, with with my ability to raise prices to meet everybody else who's been raising prices, I've been able to get that in line. I feel like labor will never be able to, our formulas just need to change because I mean, I'm blessed that I own my building and I can just change my I'm not happy about it, but I can change my profit percentage, but by having much higher labor costs. And I'm in some ways happy that with everybody else, I couldn't just pay everybody more money without raising my prices, and I couldn't raise my prices if everybody didn't raise their prices. So some of this, I think, is definitely a positive that the lower end workers are making more money. And so I think, just figuring out the new norm and working out the next few years to make this back into it just really just means of changing a lot of the structures that we normally had going forward and the percentages we assumed we could make. And we're looking at this in different ways and figuring out other ways to make that work. And that some of that is unfortunately just not making as much at the end of the day, but still being profitable.
Thank you, Caleb. Well, I want to jump in and share a little bit about Blue Zones, and then we're going to revisit this conversation with some additional questions. I'm going to share my screen quickly, and bear with me while I get this started. So there may be some of you that don't know about Blue Zones, and maybe some of you have seen the Netflix documentary, Live to 100. It is currently out on Netflix, so if you have not seen it, please maybe take an opportunity to see it. It's pretty quick, 4 short episodes. But I want to talk a little bit about what Blue Zones does in partnership with communities today. The purpose of our organization is to empower everyone everywhere to live longer, better. And so it aligns with many of you and the things that you're doing every day to realize that mission there in Bucks County and where you live. The original work of the Blue Zones was started by Dan Buettner Sr. and National Geographic. And the idea was if environment, there's a study that established that the environment where anyone lives, their zip code, will dictate not only their total health, but their longevity, how long they live and how healthy they are when they live. And so with that in mind, Dan and National Geographic set off to find the areas of the world that are living longer, healthier lives. And what they found are these communities that live to about age 100 at 10 times the rate that we do here in the United States. And so with that, on this discovery, they decided to launch a deeper research study and took a team of researchers, demographers, statisticians, public health officials back into these communities and spent a considerable amount of time trying to find out what was going on in the environment that could have proven out that Danish twin study. And what they found is a concept of what's called the Power Nine. It's the commonalities that all Blue Zones, the original Blue Zones communities had in common. And these Power Nine, I'm sorry, it keeps advancing without me wanting it to. These Power Nine are things like moving naturally. These communities had the ability for the people who lived there to simply just walk to work or walk to school or walk to a market or play outside or garden. These are simple things that afforded them the ability to just be moving constantly throughout their day. They had deconvenienced homes. They didn't have anything like a Roomba. They did this work themselves, and therefore they were naturally moving all day. And another component to that is they weren't concerned about things like pedestrian safety or crossing streets or having safe crosswalks or being able to safely bike from one place to the other. It just could happen in their environments. They were set up such that they could happen. The second component is right outlook. And this is made up of 2 parts. This is purpose and downshifting together. Purpose is that kind of intrinsic motivation that we have every day to get up that allows us to use our unique gifts and talents daily. We're highly motivated to meet our goals. We're happy to be there because we're doing something that fulfills us. The other side of the coin is this ability to downshift, having environments that every day nudge us, cultural practices that nudge us to de-stress. Those things together, purpose and downshifting, can be things like going to church, spending time in mindfulness or with a prayer group. It could be practicing gardening. It could be taking a nap, spending time with your family, practicing a hobby. Any of those things really help to reduce inflammation in our bodies, give us a sense of motivation and wanting to do something every day. It's really giving some mental health protective factors. The next element of items is really eat wisely. And it's made up of multiple components. It's not only what we believe in, plant slant, which we are very clear is we're not talking vegan or vegetarianism. We're talking about adding more healthy options to your diet, adding more whole grains, nuts, beans, plant-based foods with a healthy portion of animal-based proteins. Getting the balance right is really important. The original Blue Zones communities, many of them had a very high level of plant-based diets with only a few meals either out of the month or out of the week that were animal-based. The second component to this is also being cautious of how much we eat, being mindful of that, having cultural practices that help us manage our total caloric intake and putting an emphasis on those healthier foods to make up the primary portion of those calories. There's also a concept of wine at 5, or what we call friends at 5, and it's simply where we come together with friends around food, sometimes with wine, small portions, but to share how our day is going, to be connected to our communities, etc. And that brings me to the final bucket, which is connect. Connecting is this sense of having a belonging in your community, that your community is the right place for you, that you want to give back and be a part of this community, that you respect this community, have pride in your community, and also feel that kind of reciprocal relationship with your community. The second one is loved ones first. Having the ability in your life to put a priority on your loved ones, taking care of your loved ones, or those that you consider your family close by, and keeping them and taking care of them. And then finally, right tribe. What we know is that your 3 best friends have incredible power to influence. They can, if your 3 best friends smoke, you're probably more likely to smoke. If your 3 best friends eat healthy and go to healthy restaurants, you're more likely to do that as well. If your 3 best friends go routinely on a walk or join 5Ks, you're also more likely to be involved in those activities. So we really look at power of relationship and how those relationships can influence our environments and our behaviors. When we're looking to work in a project, and I'll get to what we are looking for during this assessment period with Bucks County, is we are looking to bring those Power 9 principles into what we call the life radius. Those are the places and people and the policy that is kind of moving us and dictating our choice and our preferences within our community. And so when we're working with, in partnership, a community, we are going to look to activate individuals, people. This is really important for all of you, because in this bucket is a concept called MOIs. It's where we're generating socially connected groups that agree to take on some activities together. Those activities can include walking groups, but they also include things like potlucks and dining and eating together and experiencing healthier foods. And we do that in partnership with all of the organizations that are represented on the call today. Places, we're looking to optimize the environments of these places where people spend a great portion of their time in communities, to make sure that the healthy choice is the easy choice, the default choice. The way that looks for restaurants, when we launch a project, all of the restaurants within the community can participate at no additional cost. Grocery stores participate at no additional cost. Same for work sites, schools, and faith-based organizations. When we're specifically working with restaurants and grocery stores, we can help them become what's called Blue Zones approved by looking at our checklist of items and inventory items to help them meet some standards to be able to apply Blue Zones approved to their store, to their storefront, to their brand, etc. And it simply means things that you're likely already doing. How do we create things like healthy checkout lanes, where we're removing potato chips and sodas and candy bars and replacing them with water or less sugary sweetened beverages, as well as things like grab and go healthy snacks and fruit and whole fruits, etc. With restaurants, we really work with you to optimize your menus. And in both cases where we've worked, we have demonstrated not only satisfaction of clients and customers, but also an increase in your total bottom line because of just some of these things that can help in that environment. Finally, the other one that's really going to be important here is the built environment, food, tobacco, and alcohol. So as well as working in places and people, we're really looking at what we consider almost that invisible hand that is either adding or subtracting choices for health within an environment. And when we look at food, we're looking at the full continuum of food, from where food is grown and sourced and provided to a community, as well as cooking skills and increasing cooking skills and partnering with those individuals, organizations, restaurants, grocery stores that have the ability to do that, to help bring demonstration of food best practices, where people can access healthy foods in their environment, any programs like SNAP or others that are helping them to offset those costs and point them in the direction to where they can access food, working with food banks and growers and producers to ensure their products get high levels visibility within the community and access all the way through to where food is finally disposed of. And so in this assessment process, we'll be looking at everything in the food environment, from culture around food, which is in the people bucket, the places that are offering the healthiest food, those locally owned or supported organizations that want to be part of this process, all the way down to policy and how policy can help emphasize and add total health and availability of food within a community. The process is we start after the assessment, we will make a recommendation for a likely 4 to 5 year project that will start with what's called foundation and planning. At that stage, we will initiate even deeper dive and discovery process, learning everything that we can, really signing up partners to work alongside us to help activate the plan. And then we spend this middle bucket transformation about 3 to 4 years in transformation. And then we launch a certification process. During this feasibility study that we're in right now, we will be on site the week of July 22nd. We will have numerous focus groups, one-on-one conversations, etc., to do even deeper work than what we're doing today. So I encourage all of you to be looking out for that. We're going to have some food policy experts actually coming into Bucks County, going on windshield tours, talking about total food access, looking at your grocery stores, your restaurants, etc. So this is an important timing of this conversation, because any of you that want to be more deeply engaged in that process, we can get you connected and involved to make sure that your voice is heard in that environment as well. We've already set up landing pages, the ability to RSVP. We've already got the agenda and the schedules set up for that on-site period of time. And then we are going to be developing a full-fledged report after that report visit, likely to be available by early September, middle of September. And to give you just an idea of the area that we're putting our focus on, it's not the entirety of Bucks County, but really the 10th district. And so this is a map that kind of shows those communities that we're really focusing in on during this 4 to 5 day period, as well as some preliminary upfront discussions. So that's just a quick overview of what our engagement with Bucks County and the 10th district. But what I would like to do now is to kind of open up a discussion and a little bit of a guided discussion. I do have some questions on my mind, and I would also like to hear from each of you just some dialogue around your community, your culture around food in the community's culture around food, and really where you see the greatest need for support as it relates to improving the overall, access, food culture, and support for organizations like yourselves to be able to do more of what you're doing today, to be leading in more to your kind of mission in what your organizations are hoping to accomplish. So with that, I just want to open with a general question. How would you describe the overall culture of food in the 10th district in Bucks County? Like, what are the foods that really, if you were to put it on your shelf, would be gone in a week or gone in a day? So anyone can speak up. I just want to open with that question, and then we will take this discussion wherever it naturally goes.
Ice cream. I don't want to. Can I ask a question? I don't want to totally hijack this. Other than RDs, I'm not seeing medical people here. And I don't know the information off the top of my head, but my understanding is something like 25% of America's population right now, borderline pre-diabetic. If we can reverse that, the health outcomes, my understanding, is pretty significant. And that is talking to the masses, right? In other stores, I'm involved in some programs that are not operating under Blue Zone, but trying to healthy lifestyle, and they are focusing on the food pantries. And it's driving me crazy because I feel like if we're going to move this needle and extend for most, because it's not just age, it's quality of life, we need to be talking to the masses. So back to your question, people buy a lot of damn ice cream. I don't get it. It's not my drug.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, you know, you
It's
all
the thing.
point to sodas and chips, and they are a problem, but that ice cream,
Yeah.
you know, for us, it's produce. We lead with produce. We're always trying, you know, we're sampling produce, we're bringing in new produce. I know there's talk about local produce, and in our area, we do have some amazing farms, but let's face it, we get fresh produce 3 months of the year. So we need to kind of stop backing people into the local only thing and say, just eat fresh, right? So I guess that's my take on this. So where's the medical field on this? I mean, we need to change behavior. That's what we're here to do, I think.
And I love your comment, Jeannie, about it being not just focused on a certain demographic, but across the population. We need to be talking about healthy food access. Kim, I see you have your hand raised. I have a feeling I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
I'm sure you do. So, Jeannie, you're not familiar with BCHIP, but I am here representing all 6 health systems.
I'm excited.
Yeah. And so to that point, I mean, I can tell you, not that there isn't always more to do. There is, and they are engaged in the Blue Zone project, just so you know, all of them we intend to bring to the table for this work. But know that, you know, their community health systems, they have, you know, their diabetic educators, their primary care practices, they're doing a lot of work in this area too, but changing behavior is hard. So when I tell you that knowledge is shared across all of our health systems on these related issues and many of our primary care practices, and should we continue to bring this work forward after the assessment phase, they're committed to this work. But as we all know, knowledge doesn't always lead to behavior change. So and ice cream still remains popular, but we're hoping that by changing the culture, it will be, you know, we will be changing some of those norms, but know that our health systems and our primary care practices are committed to this work.
Yeah. So I will call out the challenge that Jeannie raised around that changing of how people behave and changing culture and changing preferences. And also this kind of hyper focus on food banks and making that the issue when it's really across the population is the issue. And then the third one is, Kim brought a wonderful point there, is how do we break down the silos between what the health systems are doing today and what all of you are doing, and how do we get more integrated and that everyone's rowing in the same direction and everyone's got the same goal and we can actually measure it. So that's a key opportunity and challenge built into one. others that would offer a word or comment on culture and kind of where you see overall food preferences kind of leaning in Bucks County. Any others that you see kind of, what are some of the main, like if I were to open a restaurant and besides ice cream, what are other things that you would say have to be on the menu to be successful?
If I could say, I was gonna just mention, I'm actually from New Jersey. This is Dee from Moku. And then I noticed after moving out here and just with the restaurants, they're definitely, I mean, I know we're trying to make it a blue zone, but we already have, I think, a lot of healthy eaters in the area compared to other regions. So I think you're already on the right track. I would just say, I think we need to focus on beside not just educating, but like our messaging and then also the experiences people are having within your, restaurants or supermarkets or other facilities. Because I think if they come away with a really positive experience, you get a lot of really good word of mouth from that. And that honestly, I feel like is your biggest draw. It's not a quick, like bringing a ton of customers at the same time, but it's a nice way to get like a kind of trickle effect where people just start coming in and then trying things.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Question about some of you mentioned events that you might be hosting inside of your facilities, maybe even how you're marketing your restaurant. I'm curious about what are the most successful channels for either marketing an event or marketing your restaurant. Where do you see communication getting to the masses most easy? Is that through paper, print media? Is that through social media? Is it through handing out something to those that are already in your store, like a card or a coupon? What are some of the strategies that you've seen pay off?
I could speak a little bit from Wegmans. We just opened the store, and I think I can't speak of like the channels that work best, but what works best from us as a store as we open a store, like in our meat and seafood department, we have our gold pan items, which are easy take home, ready to. I mean, they cook the items there. It's a quick meal. It's a healthy meal for the families. And I think what we try to do at Wegmans is highlight those items. We obviously have to offer everything. We have to offer ice cream. We have to offer processed items at the store. But I think one of the things that we want to do is highlight the healthy items. And I think in doing so, and whether it be what we call PBS or knowledge-based service, we try to do that and teach the customers what is the best option for them. And I think when we do that, we have success at changing some buying patterns within the store, from maybe that processed item to maybe your healthier meat or seafood item. So I think in terms of in-store, what we can do is just continue to try to teach our customers and share some of the items that we're proud of that are healthy for customers. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yes, it does. And I'll have a follow-up question, but want to hear Caleb's thoughts here.
Yeah, I was just, when you mentioned the marketing, to me, most marketing that works is with my present customers and my present building base. So, email blasts and social media driven towards the guests I already have or already liking me, tends, and obviously internal works. I don't find, it's more just the Coca-Cola sign on the billboard that kind of reminds you they're there, that helps as far as just, print media and all. But for the really something that's going to affect me today, it's really driven by my list of people that I already have in my internal marketing.
That's helpful. Following up on something you said, Bill, some of the services that Wegmans offers, and some of you also have this ability to, do a store education series where you walk with someone in the store and talk about smart shopping and selecting healthy items. How often have those been partnered with a health system or a provider in the community that may refer patients in to get that kind of grocery store tour.
So we haven't necessarily, I mean, a lot of things have changed since the beginning of the pandemic on how, and we're trying to get back to some of the ways that we used to. I think Marta I don't know if Marta's from, I don't want to put her on the spot, but I know that at one of the past stores I was at Downingtown, we had people come in and I think some of our nutritionists or some of our people who were knowledgeable in that did take people around the store for tours. So I don't know if Marta has an answer for that. But that is something that we've done in the past, and it's something we can entertain in the future too. We don't do too much of that right now, and I think because times have changed a little bit, but as we move forward and get back to what was the norm, I think we could focus on some of those things as well. I don't know.
Yeah, and I
Marta?
can say, yeah, thanks, Bill. We haven't been doing, as Bill said, store tours. There's challenges with those. There's mixed for lots of people in the aisle that get in the way of the shoppers and that sort of thing. We did partner with health systems way back many years ago, where a health system would come in and talk about blood pressure or cardiovascular disease, that sort of thing. So yes, we have done those kind of things. To another question where someone said social media is a blessing and a curse. I have to agree with that from a dietitian's perspective, because probably 90% of the health information or nutrition information that's on social media is incorrect and just ridiculous. And it's really hard to combat that. So if we can get more influencers that are speaking facts and getting rid of all the myths and the misinformation that's a factor, that would really go a long way. We're now on this focus where we're focused on we're now focused on ultra processed foods, or we're focused on organics, or we're focused on non-GMO, or we gotta step back and look at the big picture. Eat more plants. They don't have to be fresh. They can be canned. They can be frozen. Eat more whole grains. Eat more nuts and seeds. Just eat more plants in general. If we can get back to that message, and we talk about that a lot at Wegmans, that's something that we really focus on. And another thing I wanted to say too, just thinking is in grocery stores, we have a challenge because we have to follow FDA labeling laws. We can't say a food is healthy or packed in or nutrient rich, or unless it fits a very small window of criteria that the FDA sets. So influencers can go on and say hummus is packed with protein. Hummus is not packed with protein by the FDA's definition. So that's something that we have to combat too. We can't have signs in the store that say this food is healthy or that food is healthy unless it meets that criteria. So there's challenges when you have to abide by the labeling laws.
Yep, for sure. Janine, do you have a comment?
So the Bucks County Herald is still in print, and to whatever extent we can, we do try to support them. I don't know if it has any influence, but in Hunterdon County, where we also operate, we've lost our local paper, and it is a devastating loss to the community. There's no way to get event information out. Social is too fragmented. I'm speaking not just as a business owner, but also in the nonprofit world. It's just, it's tough. So we're going to continue to support the Herald however we can. I don't know. Oh, thanks, Caleb. I don't know if small businesses can do it, but you don't want to lose your local paper.
That's for sure. And Caleb, I saw you had a comment.
I will just also say that the Herald is participating in our Blue Zone in this project. So
perfect. So they're going to be, a voice for whatever you do, right? Getting that word out. They're going to do it. Because not only is it a local paper, it's an excellent local paper.
Yeah, that's great. Caleb, did you have a comment? I saw you come off mute.
Well, I might be stating the obvious, but I think you're talking to the wrong people. I'm looking at this list, and this is all the food for restaurants and grocery stores in the area, the ones that really are not promoting healthy. Obviously, I have a shit ton of Arable Foods on my menu, but
Yeah.
but I also have, you know,
Yeah.
I've, you know, hung my success on being able to serve vegans and vegetarians and local fresh food as much as I can. So, and I can see the list. I know most of these restaurants, and yes, you know, Wegmans, obviously, these are all the ones that are doing it already, or to an extent. But,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, I mean, we may be preaching to the choir, but honestly, it's the choir that's already laid the groundwork for more success. And it's important for us to really understand is, you know, where has your success been? What are the challenges that you're seeing in this environment, and how can we help you grow in that success and do more of what you set out to do and the things that you want to see happen? And so, you know, we're never going to get a McDonald's on this conversation, right? But how can we help empower all of you to even do more of what you've been doing and find natural partnership that are going to help you be even more successful in this kind of mission? Mike, I'm curious from you and your thoughts on this in terms of you've got a couple of businesses, and you know, where do you see some of your biggest challenges aside from kind of the overhead costs that you've already mentioned? But in terms of, you know, if you put healthy items out there, do they have demand? Are people interested? Are they seeking them out? Do you see opportunities to grow that in any way?
So because my two places are fairly different, I would have to sort of agree with Caleb with what he was saying, where like, yeah, I do have healthy items on the menu, but I mean, you drown a salad with ranch dressing, how healthy is that lettuce anymore? And that's just one part. But then the other part is the more people drink, the more chicken wings they order. And that's deep fried. Or like our cauliflower, that's also deep fried and battered. And so it's not that we don't want to serve these healthy items and really focus on only healthy items. It's just I find that the demand of the tourists, at least, that help pay my bills, they don't want the healthy items. So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to like think of a different way or a way that this could even work better to do that. But I really do think it is based more on education and making sure that that education goes with execution. Because I mean, you can only teach people and you can only say so many things to people, but unless they actually do it, how helpful is it, you know?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that point, and you're very right. And I would say one of the things that we focus on is not removing choice, because you're going to have people that are always going to choose to sit down and have 3 beers and 2 orders of wings, and that's just going to be what they do. But we also want to have a balance of what are some of those other choices, and can we create an environment through all of the channels, people, places, and policy where people actually start looking for those healthier choices, and it becomes a demand, and then it's available in the places that can make that change, right? You have individually owned private business that you can help meet that demand when it's there and be a partner and help driving that education and that total system of change. And so for that reason, it's important, even though you're starting where you're starting, we're all starting where we're starting. It's just what we have. The reality is we have to combat it on all fronts if we're going to grow the overall health environment of the community. And you don't take away choice. Those wings need to stay on the menu. That's ranch dressing needs to stay on the menu, but there are some creative ways by which you add more choice, and therefore you may drive more interest in some of those healthier choices that may also be a better profit margin for you. But we'll get into that later as we get into those things, but that's really what Blue Zones is looking for. Deidre, you're on mute.
I was going to just kind of piggyback off what Mike was saying as far as with the restaurants. Like I've actually frequented his restaurants before, so I'm very familiar with the area. Plus I live down the street from you. So, you know, but I was going to say, aside from the food part of it, you know, where the restaurants are located, where Mike's restaurants are located, they kind of fall into those other components of the Blue Zone. As far as it's walkable, it's a nice area. His restaurants are set up where, you know, people can come in and gather and have a glass of wine, or, you know, get together and focus on those things where it can go beyond just what the food offerings are. Because like you said, when you have the choices there, people are going to order what they want. And when they're drinking, they tend to not eat as healthy as they would say for a different, you know, for breakfast, right? But I think that's something else that we could talk about, because not everybody from, you know, a profitability standpoint is going to be able to offer just healthy foods all the time, but there's other components to the services that I think fit in well and we could help promote as well.
That's wonderful. Rose?
Yeah, I'm curious along these lines, because Mike, you brought up a great point of the tourism aspect of a lot of our towns in Bucks County. And quite honestly, you know, when I'm on vacation, that's my time to kind of have the less healthy options. But in the last couple of years, you know, when I'm planning a dinner with a couple of friends or family, I now have to consider gluten-free because I have somebody who's gluten-free. I have to have somebody's vegan, you know, somebody can't have tomatoes or peppers. You know, there's so many challenges now to, allergies and health needs that I struggle sometimes when I'm especially going out of town or going to restaurants to quickly find those that are going to meet a lot of those needs. And I guess this is also a question for the restaurants, but also for Margaret. Like, as you restaurants have had to accommodate, and the grocery stores accommodate, highlighting all of those different offerings, is there a way, like, if I could have some kind of certificate or sign that would say, you know, Blue Zone certified, or, you know, this restaurant has something, a way for me to be able to quickly say, okay, I know that I'm going to be able to get there. I'll look through the menu. It looks like this is going to be a good place for me to find all of those things.
Yeah, I think that's wrapped into an even bigger element of Blue Zones. I can tell you that we have a couple of long-term Blue Zone certified communities. One is in Naples, one is in the south of LA, in the beach cities of California. And without fail, and also in Monterey, California too, I will tell you, without fail, when I hear someone who says, oh, I saw Blue Zones, I actually went to a Blue Zones approved restaurant in Redondo Beach, or I went to a Blue Zones approved restaurant somewhere, you know, Immokalee outside of Naples. I know exactly what you're talking about. That was phenomenal. I didn't know that's the work that you do. Well, I say that because people are familiar with the brand. And when they go to a community and they see the brand showing up everywhere, it does signify to them, this is something that's likely to meet whatever restrictions I have. But it's also, I want to try that and see their menu, because if they're approved, that must mean something different. And so we've actually had great success in that, Rosemary, for all of those factors. I know our time is short. We have 2 minutes. I know that many of you probably have questions. I want to open it up for anyone that's got a quick question. And then I also want to offer up my email for you to reach out and ask any questions directly. And then Rosemary to share any of the itinerary coming up in July. Caleb, I saw you come up.
Yeah, just real quick, if you could explain what the procedure to become certified, what does that extend for a restaurant?
For a restaurant, yep. So when we get through the assessment process and the community agrees on the pathway forward, and we announce we're launching the actual project work, we will initially have what's called a summit where we bring all of retail foods, restaurants, grocery stores. They can learn more about Blue Zones. They get a pledge packet, and in that pledge packet is around 50 to 100 evidence-based best practices for your industry. So grocery store or restaurant, you kind of go through and check off the things that you're already doing. Those things have an assigned point value. And if you meet the point value for being receiving the Blue Zones designation, then we will bring someone in to evaluate what you've checked. If everything checks, you can become Blue Zones approved. If you don't quite meet that point value, we're going to help you create a plan to get you there, so that there's some simple things that you can do to get there so that you can meet that designation of being Blue Zones approved. So it's a little bit of a process, but you'll have someone to help you guide you through that process to help you meet and get to that status.
Margaret, is there a cost associated with it?
So to the bigger Blue Zones project, there is a cost. We're bringing stakeholders. Typically, we have health plans, plans and health systems, private industry, et cetera, that are paying for a Blue Zones to happen in a community. And once that happens, this process becomes free to all grocery stores, restaurants, businesses, work sites, et cetera, across the community to participate at no cost.
Thank you.
Mike, did I see a question?
I did have a question, but then when she asked hers, it sort of, I think, in a way answered mine. I was going to ask if there's any incentives for restaurants and the communities in order to do that, but it sounds like it's there's no incentives to it other than you get your badge.
Well, I would say you get your badge and you get the brand recognition of being able to promote yourself as a Blue Zones affiliated restaurant for the community. It does carry significant value. I would say the other thing when we get into it, and I would highly encourage you to participate in some of the conversations coming up in July, because we can show you the pathway to which we've helped increase bottom line profits, et cetera, for restaurants and grocery stores that have been partnered in this way. So there's a number of things to do there, but there's a lot more to learn for sure. And Deidre?
So for timing on when you're trying to get this implemented, and also once it's implemented, is there anything as far as group messaging, like ways that your organization will be promoting the Blue Zone badged, locations and or, services?
Absolutely. There's a number of ways in which those approved restaurants and grocery stores show up in our marketing, not only directly with your local media, but we also launch, national media that you'll be tied to. There's many different ways to get exposure on that once you've become Blue Zones approved. And Seth, I see you're raising your hand.
Yeah, first of all, hello, everyone. My name's Seth Levin. I'm actually the account executive working for Blue Zones and with Rose and team, really to help launch you guys, have a great assessment. That question about your marketing, I have to tell you that what's exciting, I think, is really this becomes Bucks County's project. Blue Zone supports you. We definitely do national type promotion. But if you move forward to a Blue Zone project, there's actually a local team, or in your case, regional team that's hired with an executive director, staff. It's all locally based. And I think that's really important to know. Every Blue Zone community meets certain standards, direction, but everyone knows their community differently and communicates with their community differently. And a local Blue Zone project is all about being owned locally with this national umbrella. So I just wanted to throw that out. I think that's an exciting part of Blue Zones and how it might differ from other types of initiatives. You have both the air cover and the local roots. So
yeah, thank you for that, Seth. I do have to apologize. We have gone over time. I know all of us have other calls to jump to. Rosemary, point back to you to kind of finish up and wrap up.
Yes, thank you, Margaret. And thank you all for joining the call. So we did send out an initial email with some information linking you to our website that we've launched. And I think we'll be following up this meeting with information about our telephone town hall that we will have on July 9th that will it'll be a community-wide telephone town hall with Senator Sanaciro, Margaret, and Kim to kind of talk about this effort again. So you'll get to hear it all again, but you'll get to hear what some of the community questions are. And then our in-community days will roll out the week of July 22nd. And we would like to invite you to join our focus group about food systems. So watch for an invitation on that as well. But in the meantime, you're welcome to reach out to Shannon, Kim, Margaret, myself, with any questions that may pop up in the next day or so. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Great conversation. Have a great afternoon. Happy 4th.
Thank you.
Bye.